Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. So we are doing True Crime at Christmas Time Day 4. Jack and Elaine Denny. And this is just awful. It's just awful. Okay. 65-year-old Jack Denny was born on October 29th, 1942 in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, to parents Ralph and Flossie. He liked gardening and dancing, had a passion for old cars and hot rods, and he loved to work on anything mechanical. 66-year-old Elaine Denny was born on November 24th, 1941 in Wellington, Texas, to parents Roy and Edith Hilgenfeld. Elaine loved sewing, cooking, and gardening. She was a beloved housewife and known for her organization skills. She loved board games, decorating for the holidays, her animals, and of course her children and her grandchildren. The couple met and fell in love at Sperry High School. They graduated in 1960 and got married less than a year later on January 21st, 1961 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They lived in Alvin, Texas and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma before finally settling in the very rural community of ranchers and farmers in Locust Grove, Oklahoma in 1981. Both Jack and Elaine simply adored their children and grandchildren. They had a son named Chris and a daughter named Sarah, and they also had 5 grandchildren together: Kate, Rachel, Jacob, Kaylin, and Elaine. They were known around town as the neighborhood grandparents, and it is said that to know them is to love them. In 2007, after 27 years of service, Jack had recently decided to retire from GRDA as the Superintendent of Mechanical Maintenance. December 23rd, 2007, the couple's daughter Sarah spoke to her parents to let them know that her husband, her children, and herself were all packing to go spend Christmas Day at Minkma and Grandpa's house, not knowing that that would be the last time that she ever spoke to her parents again.
That morning that I had called them again, just to say, hey, we're going to be coming over.
Sarah Keener and her husband Ladney packed up their 14, 11, and 9-year-olds to go to Minkma and Grandpa's house for Christmas.
Sarah says that she didn't find it strange that her parents didn't answer on Christmas Eve, but when Christmas morning came and they still weren't answering her calls, she began to get worried. Sarah and her husband's fear intensified when they began driving up the dirt road and Elaine wasn't outside to meet them. She was always waiting outside for them when they visited. When her daughter Sarah and her husband Ladney got to the front door, it was unlocked and her heart dropped.
Didn't seem odd on Christmas Eve that I didn't hear from them. But Christmas morning, when they didn't answer again, things started feeling odd.
Their car trekked down the country road and found its way up to the house quaintly hidden in the brush.
When we drive up, they always meet us. They're always...
Something wasn't right.
They walked in through the laundry room, and what they found there was indescribable. There was food on the stove, and Jack and Elaine were deceased on the floor to death. The scene is described as a literal bloodbath. They also concluded that this may have been a case of mistaken identity. There were no suspects because, like I said, everyone adored this couple.
I think I was the first one to the door, and it was unlocked. And I remember saying, Ladney, it's unlocked.
I remember walking in to the house, and it felt off. It felt weird.
Unlike every other Christmas, Sarah and Ladney walked in first.
When we got into the laundry room area, he was beside me, and we were telling the kids to stay back.
They weren't met with the warm smiles they were expecting, but a gruesome, heartbreaking sight.
Because when we got in, it was obvious in that moment that they were gone.
I remember seeing pots still on the stove. And the look on Mom and Dad's face.
Moments later, Minkma's classic Christmas decorations were guarded by police tape.
I stayed in the van with the kids, and I remember turning around and telling them, Minkma, Grandpa are dead. I'm sorry. They're gone. We're going to be okay.
We all just kind of sat, we cried, we sat in silence and just waited.
About a year after the murders, police received a letter from an inmate at Cherokee County Prison for an assault and weapons charges named Justin Walker. Writing in part, I did unlawfully and willingly take the two couples' lives. I shot them both and robbed money from his black wallet. Detectives had him draw a layout of the home and reported that it was fairly on point. There was a palm print found on a washer and dryer, and it did not match Walker's fingerprints. So prosecutors chose not to pursue charges. Walker was released from prison in June of 2012. After he was released, he went to speak with officers at their request, and he recanted his confession, telling police that he doesn't even remember making that statement.
They had food in the kitchen that had been prepared. It looked like they had settled down to eat their dinner and were interrupted.
His report showing what is still true about the case today, both the suspect and circumstances unknown.
There's information that would lead me to believe that more than one person was involved.
But they don't know when those people arrived. Reports indicate it could have happened Christmas Day or either of the 2 days before.
It's just ridiculous.
Neighbors were shocked.
I mean, they're like family to everybody, you know.
Chances are, if you knew Elaine, you had an Elaine quilt and knew the taste of good food.
Really cool. I remember sitting out in the yard snapping green beans.
Jack could name every type of tree in his yard, an expert outdoorsman.
We have the shirt that my grandpa's wearing.
Both always smiling, always happy, always loving.
I love this picture of my parents. I mean, that's just them.
Sarah still holds them close behind the message she knows they'd want her to hold on to as they continue to wait.
I think that all we need is that one break, that one person to reach out and give us the information that we need, and we can put this puzzle together.
10 years after the murders, Walker was doing a stint in a hospital. While at the hospital, he confided in his therapist that he was the one that murdered the Denny's. He goes on to tell the therapist that it was indeed a case of mistaken identity. He had intended to kill his girlfriend's uncle after she confessed to him that he had molested her when she was a child. He planned the spree in an attempt to get even, but went into the wrong house by mistake. I'm not positive if something like murder falls under patient confidentiality, but regardless, she told police, and now police finally had enough to arrest 32-year-old Justin Walker.
It's not just me.
Under Sheriff Jason Chenault was emotional Friday as he announced charges against Justin Walker.
We're taught not to take our work home with us. I can't do that.
Chenault says they developed Walker as a suspect just a month after the murders, but it wasn't until a couple of months ago that the OSBI got a tip involving some key evidence in the case. District Attorney Jack Thorpe says a multi-county grand jury handed down an indictment after hearing that evidence last week, and on Friday he filed the official charges.
God has kept us going. It's hard day in and day out.
This movement towards justice, of course, is strengthening that hope for Sarah Keener, although for her family, Christmas will never be the same again.
We have new traditions, that we do. Part of our Christmas Eve is going out to the cemetery and taking flowers to my parents' grave.
During trial, Walker said that he was on that day in 2007 looking for someone to rob, and the Denny's were unlucky enough to be home. Justin was already serving 10 years for firearm charges, and the judge handed down another 40 for the lives of Jack and Elaine Denny. All right, guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet. If you have any suggestions, email me, harding527@yahoo.com. And until next time, stay safe out there.